Okay guys, welcome to another Friday Waffle. I'm making this one slightly earlier today because I was down south on business, but I got back a wee bit earlier, so I thought I'd take the opportunity to get this thing done. Trust you've all had a good week. What have I been up to this week, retro gaming wise, or in the last 7 days? What have I been doing? On Wednesday I was at my local retro club, retro gaming club. Really good fun. A couple of guys took along Commodore Amigas and they successfully linked up them both using, is it a modem cable, whatever, I don't know what the hell it's called, parallel interface cable or something. And they successfully had Stunt Car Racer and Lotus Turbo Challenge, I think it was. So we're playing that for 2-player games. I never actually managed to get a chance to play it, unfortunately. So yeah, I had my club. I did buy a fair amount of stuff, retro gaming stuff. I think I've mentioned before, there's a member of our club who has, or had I should say, just this absolutely, I wouldn't say obscene, yeah, this had this absolutely incredible retro collection. You had virtually every system you could possibly imagine, tens of thousands of games. I mean, he had 2 rooms, just all that was in the room were shelves with games in it. And he decided about 6 months ago that enough was enough, and he's decided to virtually sell all his collection off. I think the only 2 things he's keeping, and you can make your mind, you can make your own mind up about this, the only 2 things that he's keeping is his Amstrad CPC 464 and what is it? Is it? It's not a 3DO. Is it? Is it CDO? CDO? Is it 3DO? Possibly, but he's keeping his Amstrad CPC 464. So bearing in mind he's got every system under the sun and he's keeping that. So there you go. It's obviously not a bad machine. So anyway, yep, he's been selling off his collection, and it's. See, when you have somebody who you know selling stuff locally, it's so hard to resist. I mean, I've got everything that I really want. Excuse me a second, I've got a cup of tea. I've got everything that I want, and indeed, there's nothing else that I'm on the lookout for at all. I've not been looking on eBay, I've not been looking in Gumtree, because there's nothing else that I want. But Bill comes up with these, puts all these obscure different bits of hardware up for sale, and it's just bloody difficult trying to resist. So as some of you may saw yesterday, I picked up, was it 4 or 5, I think it was something like 6 PC Engine games or TurboGrafx games. But I've got a few other bits and pieces that I picked up, or I didn't pick up, I bought, I mean I had to buy them. So I'm going to let you see these probably in a video next week. So yeah, that was Wednesday. I must admit, I've not been playing. In fact, I tell you a lie, the only game that I've not been playing any real retro games. I've not even had a chance to play. In fact, I've hardly played my main card this week. That's a first. I've not been playing Missile Command. I mean, that's the game I'm currently playing on my I Want to Be a Video Game Champ. I've not had a chance to play that since. Hence, been lucky videos. What else have I been doing? The one game that I have been playing, and a lot of my mates have been raving about it, so I thought, well, let's check this thing out. It's called Luftheizers, I think it's called. Luftheizers, whatever it's called. It's on the PS Vita. Now, it basically looks like a cross between, in fact it looks like a shite looking version of Time Pilot, if that makes any sense. Time Pilot meets Sky Kid. I don't know if anyone knows the arcade game Sky Kid. I say shite looking, and it is shite looking. It's got, the colour scheme is Commodore 64 brown. It's just a kind of different kind of pastel shades of brown. Graphics are absolutely minimal. Absolutely minimal. In fact, I'll probably try and make a video of it. So yeah, the graphics are shite, colour looks awful, and basically you've just got to shoot all these planes down. Each level gives you a sort of target. You've got to shoot so many planes down. you've got to shoot so many of the bigger planes down, you've got aircraft carriers, you've got to destroy them. It sounds crap, but it's like digital crack. It is so addictive. I can't explain why it's addictive, it just is. It's such an easy game to play. And the good thing is, excuse me, you might have to destroy, say, 50 planes. Pardon me. So quite a clever way of, you only get one life, and basically you've got an energy bar, and when your energy is about to run out, if you stop shooting and stop accelerating, you eventually replenish your energy to full again. So that's how you do it. But it sounds rubbish, but it's so addictive, really addictive. So yeah, that's been the only game I think that I can think of that I've been playing this week. Yeah, I mean I've made a couple. I've made one, you've probably seen it, my Arcade Perfect My Arse, where I take a classic arcade game and I look at home versions, official home versions. I was actually thinking about incorporating unofficial licenses or versions, but then that would start getting too complicated. You know, where do you draw the line? Is that a proper version or not? So I thought, nah, stick to actual official license versions of the arcade game. So that's what I've been doing. So that takes, because I'm playing maybe anything up to about maybe 10 systems, it's taken me quite a while to record these. So yeah, probably my YouTube video is starting to take a bit more time, which I'm not too keen on, but you know what, if people enjoy making them, I seem to be getting a lot of good feedback. People seem to quite enjoy watching these, so I'm delighted with that. That's an important thing. So yeah, I think that's been my last 7 days in gaming terms. Let's have a look. Come on. Right, I've got 3 things I'm going to talk about today. The first one is, have you met any retro gaming celebrities? Now, I know in this day and age, the gaming conventions, shows, etc. are 10 a penny. They're very common. You've got your retro replays, you've got your revivals, all these kind of things. Now, at all these shows, you always get a series of, like, you know, gaming celebrities, your Rob Hubbards and all these kind of guys. They all tend to appear at all these different shows. So yeah, I mean, it's, you know, if you turn up at one of these shows, you're going to see these guys. But I'm just really wondering, have you ever actually met any of these guys from your past, your gaming past, in sort of like real life, as opposed to just bumping into them in a show? I've got 3, I think it is 3 examples or experiences where I've met guys who are, you know, gaming celebrities, retro gaming celebrities. The first one, it was 2002, I think it was, 2002. One of my good mates, Mark Racing. Mark, he was probably the founder of these gaming conventions. Mark started up a thing called Retrovision, and it was basically, there was a forum. There was a forum that a lot of us were on, and Mark was one of the members in the forum, and he came up with this idea of hiring a pub hall for a couple of days. People bring along their computers, we set them up, we'll turn up, we pay £2 just to cover electricity, and we just play these games. So that was Retrovision. So Mark started that, I think 2001, and I think he had something like 8 or 9 shows. And then other people picked up an idea, and they've obviously done them, I wouldn't say better, but they've done them on a far grander scale. They're now kind of business type things. But yeah, I remember going to my very first Retrovision. It was down in Oxford, the Folly pub, the Folly Inn, whatever it was called. And I've got 2 dogs outside fighting. Yeah, so I went down to this place in Oxford, and the what do you call it? The forum that I was a member of is yakyat.org. Now this was Jeff Minter, Lamasoft programmer. It was basically the forum was all kind of centred around Jeff, and obviously being a 64 man, I'd always been aware of Jeff Minter. He was one of these guys. He was a bit of a celeb, you know. I mean, as far as celebrities go in sort of gaming terms, this kind of hippie who would sit in his house and program all these games about sheet and goats and camels and what have you, all these various odd kind of animal type characters. So anyway, I was down at this Retrovision and I knew that Jeff was going to be there, and I must admit I was a bit in awe when I thought, you know, I'm going to eventually see this guy in the flesh. And bear in mind, this was a tiny little pub, and there was maybe, I don't know, 20 of us all crammed into this pub, sitting playing. There was a couple of arcade games. I think there was Tempest, there was Track and Field, there was a MAME cab, there was various Commodore 64, Spectrums, VIC-20, you name it. So anyway, I'm sitting playing that, and then I just I happened to turn round, and there was this guy with a black furry jacket, bedraggled hair, really quite messy looking, and I realised it was Jeff Minter. Now this was back in the time, anybody that's been playing games for long enough, the GameCube, Jeff actually tied up with Peter Molyneux of what was it called, Bullfrog, and Jeff was actually writing a game called Unity for the GameCube. It was this amazing sort of next gen game that he was writing. So Jeff was in the middle of writing this game at this point, and anyway, there was a Jeff, and people were kind of, you know, crowding around him, talking about him. And I happened to go up to the bar later on, and I was too kind of, I wouldn't say I was scared, but I was a bit kind of in awe of him. I went up to the bar to get a drink, and next minute I just felt like kind of nudged to my right hand side, and I turned round, and there's Jeff. And I went, how you doing, Jeff? I says, I'm Mainmeister. He's like, oh yeah, how you doing, man? Because I had spoke to Jeff obviously in the forum. In fact, I used to, on the old HRC kind of thing, which was like Messenger, I used to talk to Jeff, you know, chat with him sort of thing. So yeah, he's like, hi, how you doing? And I says, not bad. I says, how's Unity coming on? And he goes, oh yeah. And just at that, he went down and he lifted up his bag, put it on top of the bar, and he goes, oh, I'll let you see a sort of video of it, the kind of progress of it. And he brought out this little portable DVD player, and it was just this was purely just to me. He brought out this little DVD player, and he played this disc, and it was basically sort of footage of Unity, you know, a kind of beta version of Unity. And you know, I just thought it was a bit of a what the fuck moment in my life. I mean, here was a guy, that was my phone, here was a guy who I'd seen in Zap, read about his games, I used to buy his games, I played his games, I used to read his newsletters, stuff like that. Here was a guy who was part of my childhood. Here he was, standing beside me, showing me the sort of a video of his latest game. It was just mind blowing. That was quite kind of freaky, and it was a nice moment. In fact, at that point, I got him to sign. I deliberately taken down Edge magazine, had a Lamasoft sort of special. On the front of it was this big camel thing, or I think it was a llama, and I got Jeff to sign it. So I've still got that up in the loft actually. So yeah, that was a good moment, meeting Jeff. I met him quite a few times after that at various things, but meeting him for the first time was pretty freaky. So yeah, let me think. Hang on a wee second. The next time I was down again, it was with the guys from Yak Yak. I'm slipping down the chair here. I was where was it? It was down near, oh Christ, it was down near Oxford again, near to that Longleat. You've probably seen the programme on TV, Longleat Safari Park. It was down there. There was a guy called Rav, and he owned, I don't know, maybe 50, 60 arcade games, proper arcade machines. He used to restore them, repair them, type thing. What he did was he had them all in this big massive kind of barn place, and you could go along, you could pay, I don't know what it was cost, you went along, maybe you spent like, it was maybe like £100, and you hired this thing for so many hours. So me and a group of guys went down there, a group of guys from Yak Yak went down there and were playing all these machines, and brilliant. Again, Jeff was there, you know. And what was I going to play? There was a game that caught my eye, I don't know what the hell it was, can't remember. And all the games were in free play, and I started trying to get the game started, pressing the one player button, it wouldn't start. And I thought, bollocks. So then I noticed the little coin door thing was opened, and I'd seen some other people kind of pressing buttons inside there, and I thought, oh, maybe that's what because you didn't have to put a coin in, you just press the button. So anyway, I kind of kneeled down, to have a look at this coin thing, and I was kind of fanning about with it, couldn't get it working. Then I heard a guy sort of behind me, "Oh, you need to press that button, mate," and he bent down, pressed the button. I said, "Oh, thanks, mate," and you can turn round, and I stood up and turned round. It's only fucking Archer McLean, Jimmy White 147 Snooker McLean, Drop Zone. Christ, what other games is he written? Well, Jimmy White's Snooker, Jimmy White's Pool. It says Drop Zone, that's a famous one. Mercury in the PSP. He's a Commodore 64 legend. So yeah, he's like helping me to get this game going. So that was a bit of a fucking mental moment. And the last one I would probably say was, again, being a 64 man, I used to get Zap magazine. Any discerning 64 owner would buy Zap magazine back in the day. And as any Zap owner would know, they had like the 3 reviewers, Jazz Rignall, Gary Penn and Gary Liddon. And Gary Liddon was a member, I think he was administrator of the Yak Yak site. So I'd kind of known Gary, you know, not face to face, I'd known him just sort of through the forum type thing. But I got, when we started up the Retro Club, I was on Gary Liddon's Facebook, and Gary and I used to chat about running. Gary's doing a lot of running, so I was giving him kind of some tips and that kind of stuff. And I said to Gary, I says, "Oh look, we've got our Retro Computer Club down in Edinburgh, do you fancy coming?" He's like, yeah, that'd be great. So Gary turned up, and you know, Gary's now, I now consider Gary a mate. I mean, he's been along to I think 3 or 4 hour club nights, and invariably I end up just bloody sitting chatting to Gary about stuff. In fact, I think I actually touched on it in a previous video. Gary actually mentioned to me that he was asking for a favour. Him and Gary Penn have been they've been asked to write some reviews for a Commodore 64 book, and Gary was asking me if I had a 64 they could maybe borrow, or else could I come up to Gary Penn's house while they're reviewing some games. It's never, I don't know what's happened, I think they got a hold of a 64 from somewhere, but I was going to go up to Gary Penn's house and meet the both of them, and that had just been a pretty mental moment. But yeah, meeting Gary, I mean, Gary Lynn's a great guy, but just getting to meet him in the flesh was a bit, again, it's another sort of WTF moment. You know, here was a guy I kind of, you know, followed in the magazines, and I would buy games on the basis of his reviews. Just absolutely mental. And there's one final one which I've popped up, and this is probably a bit of a kind of a cheating kind of way, but Facebook, as you know nowadays guys, you can Facebook, Twitter. I mean, I don't do Twitter, I've never used Twitter in my life, don't understand it, so I don't do it. Facebook, you can practically, I mean, you could consider yourself, "Oh, I'm a friend of Brad Pitt because you like his Facebook page," whatever. Well, a guy, Dominic Diamond, doesn't need any introduction. Dominic's, I asked him to be my friend on Facebook, and he duly added me. And Dominic, about two years ago, was training to do a half marathon, and he knew that I was into running because I was always posting running posts on my Facebook page. So I got chatting to Dominic via email. I ended up sending him a training program for his half marathon. So, and he gave me his personal email address. So I was sending him stuff, and I've never met him face to face, but it's even now, you know, I'll post a picture of, I don't know, me and my daughter doing something, and occasionally you'll see Dominic Diamond likes, and it's mental to think that here's a guy, again, like any retro gamer, loved Games Master. Here is the presenter of Games Master, Dominic Diamond, who I happen to think he was brilliant. He was just such a character. He's a bit of an icon in sort of gaming circles, obviously. Here's this guy posting on my Facebook page. I mean, he'll occasionally post things on it as well. And for our Retro Club, Edinburgh Retro Club, I actually contacted Dominic and I said, "Look, any chance of, if I send you up some, send you up, he lives in Canada now, if I send you some posters of our club, would you be so kind as to get a photograph holding this sign?" So he says, "Yeah, no problem." So I posted him some posters, and Dominic got, he agreed to get, oh, hang on guys, that's the phone, back into, sorry about that guys, it was Tit Wife. What was I talking about? Yeah, Dominic Diamond. So anyway, Dominic agreed to get these pictures taken holding up these Edinburgh Retro PC signs, which was really wicked of him. So yeah, that was pretty cool. So yeah, I've been real interested to hear, has anyone else got any kind of anecdotes, stories, tales, etc., where you've met like a sort of a kind of gaming legend, if that's the correct terminology to use. Been interesting to hear your tales, guys. So anyway, yep, that's that one. Second topic is, do you think the love for retro systems will eventually fizzle out? Now, what I mean by that is, I mean, retro gaming, I mean, it's a pretty general term. Retro gaming to me means playing systems that are no longer available, be it ZX81, Dreamcast, whatever, PlayStation. Retro gaming, I mean, I have been into playing old games probably for the last 10 years, you know, talking about Retrovision. But I would say it's massively increased in popularity probably in the last 7-8 years. I mean, Retro Gamer magazine, I mean, I get that every month. It's become, I wouldn't say it's become mainstream, it's become hugely popular, which is fine. That's why I tend to shy away from big events. I'm not too keen in the whole commercial aspect of it, but anyway, that's by the by. So yeah, retro gaming has never been as popular as it is now. I would guess, and this is just my own opinion, I would probably guess that the majority of retro gamers are people like myself, maybe not quite as old as me. I'm a bit of an old bastard, 46 years old, dearie me. Yeah, I'm one of the originals. Yeah, I mean, the majority of retro gamers, I would guess, are probably male. Not everybody, you know, but I would guess the majority are probably male and probably in their 30s, maybe 40s, early 40s. And the reason being is because we remember these systems from being kids. Back then, you wanted an Amiga, you wanted a BBC, you wanted a PlayStation. You couldn't afford it. You could only afford one system. Now that we're working systems, you can pick up a system for £10. We've now got the sort of the spare cash to buy all the systems that we wanted back in the day but could never actually own, and we're able to relive our kind of childhood, you know, happy childhood memories. Obviously the whole nostalgia, rose-coloured spectacles type thing, just enjoying the whole, you know, the whole thing. This was something that we did as kids. So I'm guessing that the majority of these people are of that kind of age group. So what's going to happen? I mean, I'm 46. What's going to happen when again, this is another video I've had in the past. At what point do you become too old to game? Well, I'll stop gaming when my sight fails and I can't physically see the screen, or my hands get too arthritic and I can't hold a joystick. But I don't see myself ever getting too old to be into these games. But what's going to happen? Let's just be morbid for a second. In 50 years' time, you know, I'd be almost 100 years old. So chances are I probably won't be here. In 50 years' time, probably quite a few people won't be here, guys who are into retro gaming. Or take it even further forward, 50, 60, 70 years' time, all the original guys, all the people who were around at the very start of this industry, they'll all be gone. They'll be all going up to the big arcade in the sky. So that's going to, you know, basically the people left are going to be those people who were never around when all these systems came out. I suppose you could technically say, like my daughter, she's 10 years old. Technically in 20 years' time, if she decides I want to start collecting retro stuff, then she's going to go on eBay and she's going to buy an Xbox 360. You know, so she, you know, if there's people constantly got a love for the hobby, then they'll start off collecting the systems they remember as kids, which in my daughter's case will be the PlayStation 4, the PlayStation 3, Xbox 360. Then I suppose if she gets right into it, then she'll start looking at older systems like, you know, the PlayStation 2, the Dreamcast, and that technically could keep going on and on and on and on. In 100 years' time, kids will be buying, you know, the Xbox, whatever the hell it is, 1070 or some damn thing, and, you know, they'll be looking at pictures of the, you know, the Xbox 360 that came out 50 years ago, So I suppose technically, as long as I mean, gamers now, obviously gaming's far more casual nowadays, so I don't know whether it's, I mean, gaming's probably, I'm sure my daughter and other kids her age look upon gaming as no different from YouTube or iPads or TVs and that. It's just something that they've just grown, excuse me, they've grown and it's always been here, so they probably think of video games as just being something that's just always there. Whereas for us, it was this new industry. It was an exciting time for us. It was a complete cottage industry back then, so we had the whole excitement. So I'm guessing, can you answer one question? I'm guessing there probably will always be people interested in video games, interested in the history. Guys that are looking at systems, 50 years from now, they'll probably, if they're into that, chances are they'll probably want to look at these old systems like the Xbox 360, and they'll look back in the intranet in whatever form it is in 50 years time, and they'll go onto Wikipedia, whatever it's called now. They'll look at Commodore 64 was a machine built 80 years ago. So I suppose that you're still going to get your hardcore people who still retain an interest in video games, and they will probably keep it going. I think it will change though, because I mean, as I says, we were the guys who were there, right? We remember, we were alive when this whole thing started, and to me that's what makes it exciting. Being able to play all these games from the very, very, very beginning. So I do think that when our generation, my generation, generations, 3 or 4 generations, people who are 20 years old now probably, when these guys eventually fizzle out and go to the arcade in the sky, I think there'll be a less of a scene. I might be talking bollocks, I don't know. Don't know, it's hard to say, but yeah, hope not. I mean, I'm sure there'll still be museums, there'll probably still be places you can play. One thing is for certain though, it's unlikely, although saying that I'd probably say it was unlikely 20, 30 years ago. What I was going to say is it's unlikely that in 50 years time you're going to have as many Spectrums that still work, or whatever Vectrexes that still work, because these components, the transistors, whatever they hit, capacitors. I'm not an electronics person. These things are going to eventually fizzle out. They're going to fail, and I suppose over a period of time there's going to be less and less hardware that still works. So yeah, I'm sure there will still be a love for retro games. It may not be in the same form it is now, because once the generations that remember it from the beginning, i.e. me, disappear, then we're going to lose that. Or not we, because I won't be here, but you're going to lose these people, the original collectors type thing. So yeah, interesting. It's a bit of a depressing subject, but let's live for the moment. Get my piece of paper, and the last thing I have got in here. Now this is one I just thought about when I was driving home this afternoon. It's called Gaming Naughtiness. Now this is kind of pretty irrelevant to gaming, but what do I mean by gaming naughtiness? Have you ever done anything related to gaming which was wrong, and you knew it was wrong, but you did it, and you're not ashamed to, you're quite happy to admit it now on camera? It's probably just me that did this kind of thing, but yeah, I've got 2 examples. The first one, I've mentioned it umpteen times. My first, the place I got my computer games from was a place called Livingston Computer Centre. It was owned by this Italian guy, and we used to go up there, and just before I had a computer, we used to go up to his shop and just watch the video games getting played, etc, etc. But then later on, once we had enough money, we bought an Atari ST, and there was actually 2 things that was pretty sneaky. But he was the kind of guy, he was one of these guys, he was alright to you, but if a customer came into the shop, he would completely blank you. It just depends what kind of mood he was in. But there was one occasion we had got a hold of it was called Pro Copy. So you probably tell where I'm going with this story. Pro Copy, it was a copying device, disc for the Atari ST, and Ray had this little, it was a kind of kitchen thing that he would disappear to make a cup of tea for himself. He used to let us load up the latest games, And this one time we loaded up, I can't remember what game it was, I think it was Taipan by Ocean, I think it was bloody awful anyway. But we asked him if he had this game and he gave us a disc, and we loaded it up, and then Ray pissed off into his kitchen, and we dug out Pro Copy, boom boom boom, bang, made a copy of the disc there and then for ourselves. And yeah, it's probably fate that it was rubbish, so that served us right. The second one was Ranarama for the Atari ST. I bought the game, took it home, tried to copy it. It would not copy me. It wouldn't copy at all. Tried to use Pro Copy, couldn't copy it at all. So what I did was I swapped. I tore off the label, Ranarama label, put it on a blank disc. I put it on the blank disc that I tried to kind of copy, and took it back to Ray and said, "Oh, this isn't working, Ray." And what did he say to me? He didn't. It was quite clear that he knew I was a lying bastard, but he couldn't prove it. So he just said, "Look," he says, "I don't have any other copies of Ranarama." So he gave me my money back. So yeah, that was a bit. That was a pretty bad moment. And the last one was Argos. This was when Argos was actually good. Argos, you could buy anything and return it for your money back. It was something like 14 days. And I used to hear the people buying a tent, going to a music festival with a tent, then taking it back and getting the money back. I actually, I perfected this. I bought a PlayStation, and like most PlayStations, it stopped working. The laser basically stopped working. It was a common fault in the PlayStation. So what I did was, I knew it was fairly easy to replace. I went up to Argos, bought a PlayStation, but I told them that my wife was maybe going to be buying one as well. It was a birthday present for my son, which I don't have. It was a birthday present for my son, but I knew my wife might be buying one as well. So, and if that happened, could I return it and get my money back? And he says, yeah, that's fine. If your wife's already bought one, just bring it back, we'll refund you. So what I did was, I went up to Argos with this thing. I took my old PlayStation in the car, into Argos, bought a PlayStation, into the car park, took the top of it, swapped the laser over, put the Duff laser into the new one, and returned it. I literally had it returned within about half an hour, and I told them that I'd phoned my wife, and she told me she'd already bought one, so I didn't need it. So they're like, oh yeah, no problem, so they gave me my money back. So yeah, that was back in the day. I'm not like that now, I must admit, guys, but I just, can I apologise now to the poor sod that got that PlayStation for their Christmas, only to find out that the laser didn't work. I do apologise now, and I hope I'm forgiven. So yeah, that's it, guys. I think I've probably prattled on long enough. What have I got on this week? I'll be doing another Arcade Perfect My Arse. And tomorrow, one of my mates asked me if I wanted to go to, it's a collector's memorabilia thing in Glasgow. I'm not really into my films that much, but we went to one previously. But I actually had a look, but they've actually got it's got the cosplay thing. It's also got a video games zone, it's called, sort of old machines. So I'm going to go along there tomorrow. I'm actually going with my daughter as well. She's right into her kind of manga. Apparently there's some kind of manga section. So yeah, I'm going to go along there tomorrow. I won't be buying anything because I've not got any money because I spent it all buying stuff from the arcade club. So yep, that's it, guys. I says next week I've got a few kind of pick-up videos. I'll eat my words. I keep saying I don't like pick-up videos, but I'm going to be doing a few of them myself. The couple of things that I've got are quite interesting, quite kind of unusual, shall we say. So yeah, that should be quite good. I'll need to make a point of playing more Missile Command, and I'll need to try and get out another 10-minute mashup because I've been kind of lacking in that a wee bit off late. So anyway, guys, listen, as usual, I do appreciate you watching it. If you like the video, please hit the like button. If you want to see more of these videos by my good self, please hit the subscribe button. And as usual, thanks for watching.